Good people, it is raining in Taipei, pretty insane, which means we gotta go see our main. Phanteks is here, so let's go. Well, good people, we have the Phanteks Evolv X2 Matrix. Now they're adding a really interesting animated 900 LED strip at the bottom that is both curved and animated. Has full custom text support. You can match this to whatever other color accessories that you have in your system, which is really beautiful, good vibrancy. And because we have new fabric diffusion on the exterior layer to hide the matrix LED, it's a very clever way to both add a little texture and newness to the Evolv X2, while also being kind of a functional design behind trying to camouflage the LEDs inside. The fabric does span the bottom, the side, and the top. And if we look at the black one, right now, the fabric here is a little bit too dark. I wish that it was slightly lighter to emphasize this interior shell, inside the aquarium. And potentially they might be thinking about reducing the tint so that all the interior stuff is slightly more visible. And I hope they do that, because the Matrix does bring out the extra special element for the Evolv X2. The price point, we're looking at $199 versus $149 for the original. So a $50 premium for something that adds animated element. You can see the diffusion element per pixel is actually quite cool, especially when it's coming through the fabric. Right now, there is no startup animation, but perhaps it's something that we will see. It will not be available to retrofit to your existing Evolv X2. So this is going to be a new product. A $50 premium, I would say, is decent, especially for this interesting bling, but let me know if you agree. It will be powered with a SATA cable and USB 2 internal header so that you can control it with the NextLink software. And the cool thing about the software is that it is very, very low CPU usage, regardless of what type of animation you keep sending to the Matrix, which is going to be a huge plus of not hogging down resources to run this thing. Then we have a second matrix enclosure with a slightly smaller matrix display at 600 LEDs versus 900. It's only going to span the left side of the enclosure. Again, very similar fabric on the exterior. They're going to refine it so it's smoother and a bit more velvety. Right now it's a little rough, but it's going to be that grayish color on the black model and that silverish on the white one. Interesting addition to the XT view, because not only are you going to be able to display all your hardware, but custom text, custom animation. We'll have full system statistics that are going to be available to display here. And they're working on the NextLink software to refine it, to give you more options to display more animations, maybe more gradients, maybe even reading from a portion of your display that matches to something that is going to be displayed on the Matrix. And that's gonna just open up a world of opportunities to have a little bit more fun. Software customization is quite intuitive in terms of selecting different widgets, selecting all different colors, and it's all instantaneous. For example, if I go into here and send that to screen, that is immediately reflected on the screen. You don't have to wait for certain things to load and whatever. And then we have the XT-M3, Phanteks' second micro-TX enclosure, and I'm excited about this one. The micro-TX scene seems to be blowing up. The very small amount of people who love micro-TX is very loud. And I'm really liking what Corsair, why would I mention Corsair? So this is their second micro-TX enclosure, and they're trying to do lots of things right. Price-wise, we're looking at $69 for 3-fan model. So it's gonna be 2 fans in the front that are RGB, 1 exhaust fan in the back, and there might be a no-fan option for $59. What are your thoughts on that? If you're in the micro-TX space, looking at a somewhat budget enclosure, do you want to save 10 bucks if you're already reusing the fans that you have? Or is $10 a good value add for 3 additional fans that are already included? Let us know in the comments. The case will support a 360 AAO at the top. We will have triple 120 fan options for the bottom, definitely for intake. And also the case, you can kind of see it's not exactly a dual chamber per se, but it will have a dual chamber to house an ATX power supply, because the interior, the power supply extends into the motherboard area, and it's nice because it kind of cuddles the motherboard. I love this layout because it fills it up a little bit in the spaces that otherwise would be quite empty. And especially for micro-TX that are similar to this, like the 821, for example, from ASUS, the power supply sticks out right in the main chamber. So you have to kind of work around it, work with the cables. And here the power supply is hidden behind because the case is a little bit wider. As you can see, GPU compatibility is going to be massive, and I do appreciate how the power supply little section over here will also hug the graphics card. And because we have a micro-ATX enclosure, if you are going with a really beefy GPU, just be careful with what you mount at the bottom. But given this is a fairly budget enclosure, it's nice that it supports really chunky graphics cards, but it's going to give you a little bit of more breathing room for a normal GPU. And of course, the 360 at the top is properly offset to not interfere with our power supply and interfere with anything that's going to be at the top of the motherboard. The ATX power supply is going to face down with the cables, so you do have power extension that routes at the top, and that's a good thing because all the cables can be hidden in this compartment and exit properly through these cable cutouts towards where they need to be. We have some storage brackets over here behind the motherboard tray. And overall, I would say for a $69 micro ATX enclosure, it's going to be quite competitive just because the power supply is hidden. And I feel like the cable management for this category and this volume of enclosure is going to be quite enjoyable. Size-wise, we're looking at around 39 liters. And if we are comparing to something somewhat similar like the Prime AP201, which is around 33 liters, here you have BTF motherboard support. And because the case is slightly wider, you have way more comfortable and better cable management experience. So from that point of view, I would say the volume on the micro ATX front isn't that significant. And when you're looking at 33 liters versus 39, the size difference isn't that significant, but the experience would be slightly easier here because you have all this room for cables. And then we have the G370A, which takes the looks after G400A, check out my full review, and is going to be replacing the G360A. Lots of Eclipse G line of enclosures. Which? Lots of Ace. Yes, lots of Ace. So this enclosure is going to be a $59 price point. In this market, for a mid-tower that comes with 3 fans that are RGB, that will support the 360 AIO at the top, is actually quite competitive. They did have to slash down on certain things to meet that price point. For example, the I/O, we have a USB-C and USB-A, both of which use the combined internal USB 3 header. We don't have reusable PCIe covers in the back. I haven't seen that in a while. We do have 2 included in case you want to cover up certain slots that you potentially don't want to reveal anymore. And the whole idea behind the G370A is to target SIs and to really hit that price. They're also trying to hit a really good balance between build quality and price point. It's not going to be bending. Like for example, here, there's a little bit of flexing happening, but it's not going to collapse internally like a Corsair case would, for example. Other cost-cutting elements include no rubber grommets and no perforated power supply shroud, so you cannot install any fans on the power supply shroud, but not sure exactly how popular that is from an SI point of view anyway. But for a mid-tower that is trying to hit the $59 price point in 2025, I would say it is pretty competitive. But let me know if you agree. And thanks for watching our Phanteks coverage. I'm Dmitry. I'll talk to you in the next video.